joking too, sipping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
Well. That's the party about to have. Sounds like the party might have been going on already.
Perhaps. I have a little Shiner Bock here that I've already imbibed upon. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I know you don't like any of those things.
That's the worst.
But thanks for hanging in there, regardless. It's show number 383, where today we will answer the question, is craft beer better for you than wine? There's a suggestion that it could be. And this is good news on the craft beer front,
right?
Because usually people just talk about how bad everything is for you. But then wine drinkers got that little reprieve. It's like, a glass of red wine a day is actually good for you. Remember when that news came out?
Yeah.
Wine drinkers everywhere were like, yes! Well, we may have our yes moment on today's show. We'll get to that coming up. Also, we will be doing some very interesting, I think they're very interesting. Some very interesting tastings. I got to visit over the long weekend the Dos Sirenos Brewing Company in San Antonio, Texas. We'll be trying their Tobinator. It's a Doppelbock, and we'll be tasting that. Tobinator is the name of it. Also from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Founders Brewing Company, one of our absolute favorites. They have a new Hazy IPA called Mortal Bloom.
Nice.
We'll be trying that one as well.
It's hard to go wrong with Founders.
And then finally from Chester, Connecticut, and a brewery I do believe we're making their debut on the show for the first time, Little House Brewing Company. It's not Little House on the Prairie because there's no prairie in Connecticut, but they have an Imperial Stout that we'll be tasting called, and this is the only reason we're trying it. I haven't had it yet, but the only reason we're trying this instead of maybe a different stout that I might have in my beer closet is because the name of this one is Bark at the Moon.
That's pretty awesome.
So you gotta love it. You just gotta go there, right? You gotta go there. Also, it's tequila time on the program today. From Mexico, we'll be trying the Cazcabel Tequila Anejo. So we'll be looking forward to that on the program. And we'll bring you a drinking fact. We started this last week, and I kind of like this. So if I can find a new drinking fact every week, we'll bring you a drinking fact every week.
See, now don't set yourself up, though, so that you have to have it.
If I can find, right? Our drinking fact this week involves drinking in the British Parliament. So we'll get to that. And, of course, we'll bring you the most popular segment on the program, Drinking News. Our Drinking News teaser headline for today is Some Like It Warm. And we'll be getting to all of that. Plus cigars to watch for. We'll be talking about a whole lot of different things going on in the cigar and craft beer and spirits world. And so I think it's going to be a really good show. And we have, for once, some really great news. I think I'll just go to this right now.
This is great news right off the bat.
Great news right off the bat.
It's all downhill from here,
ladies and gentlemen, the people who make yogurt at Chobani.
Okay.
Have purchased the defunct Anchor Brewing in San Francisco and are going to be bringing it back to life.
As Anchor Brewing?
As Anchor Brewing, yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Pledged a revival of the iconic craft brewery, which is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, craft brewery in the United States. And Anchor Steam and Anchor Porter and those wonderful Christmas
sales. Yeah.
If they can get it back up and running in time to do a 2024 Christmas ale, that will make my holidays complete.
I mean, they'd have to be brewing pretty quick, depending on what they brew. But hey,
that's true. It might be a year, but man,
Chobani, I'm all for it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you, yogurt people, for getting involved in the brewing industry. We appreciate what you're doing, and we applaud you, sirs and madams, at Chobani. And I'll even buy your yogurt. And I don't really like yogurt, so
I'm not a yogurt fan.
I like frozen yogurt, okay, but just regular yogurt. I don't know. I never quite developed the taste. Some people love it.
I like yogurt when you put all the seasonings in it, and then you call it tzatziki sauce.
I like the yogurt. I think my favorite yogurt yogurt was the one where they had fruit on the bottom.
Yeah.
And you would dig in and stir the fruit
I
up.
actually had a Chobani one of those the other day.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It was good.
Although I know one thing they tried, the trout on the bottom yogurt, that didn't work out very well.
Trout on the bottom.
That one was apparently not on the market
Not
for
so
very
much.
long. Yeah.
It was only sold in Sweden, weirdly enough.
Yeah. Well, the Swedish and their fish, you know all about that, right? So we have a beverage of mystery today. This is one that I procured. And while you guys sniff it and talk about it, I have to go get the beverage of mystery bottle for the big
It's
reveal.
not in your pocket?
Because I didn't put it in my pocket.
Then
no.
what is that, sir?
It's none of your business, sir. I'll be right back. You guys talk about the beverage of mystery.
We'll just play the music over and over until you get back.
Yeah, go ahead.
The beverage of mystery.
Ooh, it smells.
Smells tart.
Yeah. Is that like a datey smell on the top there?
I don't know. It smells tart. It smells like a tart beer, like
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like
almost like a sour beer. It's got a little bubblegum kind of smell to it, though.
It does. It really does. It
It's
does.
like tart
It's sweet, got a
bubblegum
sweet, real sweet smell.
goza or something. I don't know.
Tart
yeah.
bubblegum goza? I don't think that's what this is, but somebody should definitely do
They
that.
should make that.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting thing here.
Yeah, I get
Ooh.
bubblegum. I get tart. I get what else am I getting there?
You really do. I mean, it
smells like a goza. I haven't tried it
It's
yet.
definitely fruity. Is it pineapple?
Yeah, I mean that's solid.
No,
Okay.
I get
Solid.
bubblegum.
But I like the taste.
It is funky.
It is very funky.
Yeah.
Funky.
So
Like
my
Saison, weird funky.
my first reaction was, "Ooh, I didn't like it," and then on the finish, it's like I kind of like that.
Yeah, right. The initial taste, yeah. Take another sip. It gets a little better.
I don't know what this is. It's some sort of beer, I think, ish.
Yeah.
And I still get some kind of bubblegum, but I definitely get what is that on the
Sometimes when I bring in a beverage of mystery, it's something that I've seen on the shelves before, and I'm like, oh, that might be good. And I'll eventually buy it and bring it in for a beverage of mystery. This one, I'd never seen this before.
it's
when I
not tart
chanced
like
across
it's not
this
as
bottle.
tart as it's such a tart to it, but
A little
it's not
more
as-
like a farmhouse ale
Yeah.
sort of a vibe to
Not
it.
as tart as you thought it was going to be when you.
It's got funk
smelled
like
it.
that Saison or that farmhouse kind of thing going on too. Mm-hmm. A little bit of saddle blanket going on. In
I
there.
would even say the funk of 40,000 years. We were talking about the Thriller album before the show, and all right, here's the reveal. This is Topache or Tepache Saison, spelled Sazon, and it's from Mexico, and all of the writing on the bottle is in Spanish, save for a little bit on the back, which I will read you, or you can read it.
Hablo
Huh.
español.
Tepache is an effervescent pre-Hispanic Mexican beverage made from a variety of fruits, most commonly pineapple. Tepache Saison is made from a traditional recipe in the coastal village of San Pancho. Nayarit. We crush and ferment local hand-harvested pineapples with an emphasis on freshness and ripeness. I get the pineapple in the aftertaste now. Still smells like bubblegum to me.
They don't mention bubblegum anywhere on the bottle, do they?
They do not. 100% pineapple wine with canela.
Pineapple wine.
Pineapple wine with canela. It's
So it's
interesting.
not a
Is
beer?
this a beer or is it a wine? Is it,
It
pineapple
says
wine?
100% pineapple wine with canela. So it tastes kind of beer-like because it's sparkling.
If it's a
Yeah.
wine, it tastes the most like a farmhouse ale of any wine I've ever tasted.
Right?
Yeah.
Really?
So do you like it?
I kind of do, actually.
Yeah?
The more I sip it, the more I like it. The first sip
Yeah.
was almost too funky. It was a palate shock
Yes,
to me.
totally agree.
But like you, like when the aftertaste hit, I was like, okay, it's interesting. And the more I drink it, the more I like it.
It'd be like a pretty good like table wine or table beer, perhaps, you know?
I can
like it.
imagine this with like fish tacos or
Well, yeah.
like fish tacos with good crispy fish and some cabbage. And
I'm enjoying thinking of it with fish tacos. That's a wonderful scenario in my
and
brain.
the salsa verde. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, no, this would go well with I think seafood, like
It's
seafood
actually got a pineapple
kind
one.
of thing. It does.
Yeah.
Vino de frutas.
Well,
Wine of the fruits.
I have to say I kind of like it.
I do
Is it,
too. Where did you find this?
Yeah, where
I found this in the little store downstairs in my building at
Right.
Phoenicia.
Okay.
And they have, it's interesting because most of the beer they stock is local beers, where I said local Texas and surrounding area beers. But occasionally you find something really unusual from somewhere else, and this was available as an individual bottle. I didn't have to buy a 6 or a 4-pack of it, but it was. I thought, well, this will be
It really
something different.
drinks kind of beer like the mouthfeel and everything.
More like a beer than a wine.
Is
Agreed.
similar to beer. It's very much, and not just a light fluffy beer, but actually a beer with some substantial mouthfeel
But
to
the
it.
finish is more like a wine.
Agreed.
That
Agreed.
drier sort of wine-like finish.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little surprised. I don't know that I was expecting we would like this.
I liked it. Yeah,
Fair enough.
Kind of like it.
that was really good.
Well, while
You never
you're-
know, right?
Yeah, you never know. That's the thing about the beverage of mystery. It is, in fact, a mystery until we taste it.
Right.
And mystery no longer. Speaking of mysterious, I bet you had the opportunity to smoke something mysterious this week.
I wandered into Casa today and picked up a My Father cigar, the Don Pepin Garcia Nicaragua. This is their antique
So I bet
series.
that was awful.
This is I picked up the Robusto. It's a 5x54 Nicaraguan Puro. Mm-hmm. So all Nicaraguan tobaccos, Corojo 99 Nicaraguan wrapper, and then binder and filler, all Nicaragua. The appearance on this light brown wrapper, veiny, oily, leathery feel, very firm. The DPC Don Pepe Garcia band, and then a silk footer at the bottom. Make sure you take that off before you light this, or you might get some off flavors.
I really have to say, I don't like the silk footers. Because they can be hard to get off the cigar without messing it up.
So I hate any band that's hard to get off a cigar without messing it up. Right?
Sometimes they're loose enough you can kind of slide them off the end. But when
I never try so on a footer, yeah, you can slide that off the end because it's already
right
at the end. But even when the label wants to slide pretty easily.
Oh
on the
no,
cigar,
I never do that.
Never slide it
always-
because
yeah.
it can sometimes snag the
Yep.
the wrapper. The
Cigar
pre-light
fact.
sniff on this barnyard and roasted coffee, a little bit of raisin and sweetbread kind of going on with it. I used a clip, had a medium draw to it. Sweet and creamy note came out when I was doing the cold draw with a touch of cedar. When I lit it up,
Oh.
MPB makes me feel fine. Blowing
Go
through
ahead,
the
go ahead.
cigars in my mind.
Oh, thank you for at least not being Jasmine.
Yeah, nobody has Jasmine in their mind.
No,
That's really
no,
weird.
it's the stupidest thing ever.
So it had this underlying sweetness under the Nicaraguan pepper. And for those of you just listening, NPB is Nicaraguan Pepper Blast.
Yes.
It had this underlying sweetness. The retrohale on it was pepper and cedar. The first third of this cigar, sweet creaminess with notes of bread and toast and a spicy woody foundation. Retrohale is peppery and cedar. Solid ash, good burn. Proposed pairing with this wheated Bourbon, Weller or 1792 sweet wheat would be outrageous
Oh, nice.
with this.
I love it.
The second third of this, the wrapper has a slight split all of a sudden. No problem with smoking. It doesn't change anything about the smoke or the draw or anything. Creamy and sweet on top with bold pepper foundation combined with bread, toast, and cedar form a complex bouquet of flavors. Retrohale is pepper and cedar, solid ash, good burn. The last third of the cigar wrapper is flaking off aggressively now.
Oh.
Still doesn't affect the burn or the draw. Who knew, right? Flavors remain true all the way through. The Retrohale is peppery and cedar, solid ash, good burn. This thing comes in at $11.50. I'm giving it a solid 5, even with the flaky wrapper.
Even with the flaky wrapper.
That didn't have any effect on the draw or the flavors. I think.
They just do some great blends at my
So,
father.
yeah,
They really
fantastic
do.
cigar.
They
Pick
really
one
do.
up.
Nicely done. All right, I'll tell you about what I had an opportunity to smoke this week coming up, plus our drinking fact in our next segment. You are watching and listening to Smoking and Toasting. We'll be back right after this. Something about that drum beat makes me just want to talk about cigars. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasted. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It is show number 383. And Terry, if you don't mind, doing the honors, please.
And now it's time for another Smoking and Toasting Drinking Fact.
Yeah, so
Ooh, nice.
we did this last week, and it was kind of fun. And I thought, If I can find one, we'll try to do this at least on a somewhat regular
A
basis.
semi-regular
Semi-regular basis.
I love
Yeah.
the commitment.
Yeah, well,
basis.
thank you. I'm trying to not
part-time
box
basis.
myself into anything. Assuming I have nothing else to do, I'll find us a drinking fact. All right, smoking a toast and drinking fact. Are you ready?
Let on me.
It is not permitted to drink alcohol in the British Parliament unless you are the Chancellor delivering the annual budget statement.
Wow, that's really specific.
Don't you know that the Chancellor's like, he's talking to his wife. She's like, oh, you have to do the budget statement tomorrow. And he's like, yes, I certainly do.
He's the only one. He gets to sit
Right.
there with his own
Right. Yeah, he's sitting there with a...
beefeater gin.
That's right.
Because it's Parliament. And that's
Right.
what you have to do.
Yeah, and everybody else is like, damn. But that's apparently a true fact. so
Watching the beads of ice come off of his glass.
you can Google it, my friends, if you like.
That's pretty awesome.
So I had an interesting cigar this week that I wanted to tell you about. I smoked the Esteban Carreras Chupacabra Toro.
The chupacabra. That's fun to say.
I like smoking Esteban Carreras cigars. Something about the pose of the lion-type creature on the band reminds me of the Ferrari logo. And since I'd love to own a Ferrari, but I can't afford one, I just smoke the cigar, which is much more affordable.
Even if you could afford a Ferrari, then you have to afford like the maintenance.
And no, by the way, I have not watched the Ferrari movie that came out a while back. I'm interested, but I just have a hard time getting around to Adam Driver. He's a good actor, I guess, in everything but the Star Wars movies. But something about him is just weird. I mean, we'll have to talk about that at some point.
Which one is he?
But right now, I want to tell you about the Chupacabra. The Chupacabra, by the way, is my favorite mystery conspiracy theory. Better than Bigfoot, better than the Loch Ness Monster. The story of the wild coyote-like goat sucker, it's just priceless to me. I love it so much that I even named, and this is true, my fantasy football team is the Chupacabras.
Nice.
Yeah, so did the Chupacabra cigar live up to my own Chupacabra hype? Well, let's see. I started with the pre-light sniff, which was all barnyard and hay. Not what I was expecting from a Nicaraguan puro, wrapped in an unfermented Habano Oscuro leaf, but all tobacco from Nicaragua. The Chupacabra has a pigtail cap, which you'll see in the photo right here if you're watching the video. So I decided to twist it to open the cigar and see how well that actually worked rather than using a cutter, right? Instead of punching it or snipping it. I've done that before on other pigtail cap cigars and found that it's kind of easy to rip too much of the tobacco away, which leaves a kind of a messy top. So I try to be careful. And in this case, I didn't pull away quite enough to get the volume of smoke that I wanted. So I wound up using my cigar scissors and just clipping the cap off completely after, trying the pigtail. Now, down to the smoking. The draw was still a little tight, so I used my cigar tool to open it up a bit, and that seemed to work better. The good news, at least for me, is that once I actually started puffing on it, I did not get a Nicaraguan pepper blast.
Oh, you don't even sing the song?
Not that I mind the NPB. In fact, I kind of enjoy it most of the time. But now that Ian's on standby to play the NPB song to the tune of Summer Breeze by Seals and Crofts, which I take personally because he knows how much I hate that song, it provides a deterrent of sorts.
Would I do that?
And actually, the Esteban Carreras Chupacabra did not start out with a blast. It started out a little more mellow, but before I got through the first third, it had ramped up considerably. The flavors in the first third were earthy and rich, not barnyard, but more like a very loamy volcanic soil, not quite chocolate, but very rich and deep. There was some orange zest and a hint of raisin and dried fruit, sort of like the cigar wanted to be a barley wine. It was that kind of a vibe.
Nice.
The construction on the Chupacabra was excellent. Burn line was reasonably straight as I worked my way into the second third, and the draw, after having used the cigar tool, was perfect. And as for the second third, a foundation of earthy tobacco notes with citrus zest, mesquite, and then finally, here came the pepper. Pepper on the finish, pepper on the retrohale. Now this started to smoke more like a cigar packed with Nicaraguan tobacco. A creamy sweetness worked its way into the flavor mix by the final third. Rich, earthy tobacco, espresso, citrus, and of course, pepper. It was almost as if the pepper were blowing through the jasmine in my mind. That's what it was like. Good God, that's a stupid lyric. Almost as stupid as after 3 days in the desert fun, I was looking at a riverbed from Horse with No Name, from a band that called themselves the same name as our country. Really? America. That's the best you could do. You were looking at a riverbed. You're making Miley Cyrus look like a lyrical genius right now. Do you realize that? But back to the cigar, the Chupacabra. Rich tobacco flavors, nice complexity. Made me wonder if this cigar could possibly have been blended by my man, AJ Fernandez.
So he hit you like a wrecking ball?
He kind of did. I didn't think it was an AJ creation, but it turns out Esteban Carreras gives us very little information on their website about the Chupacabra, but I did discover that a number of different Esteban Carreras blends were created by AJ Fernandez.
Nice.
So while I'm not sure if that's the case, I'd bet on it if I were a betting man. Which I am, so I'd bet on it. The Esteban Carreras Chupacabra Toro is about a $7 cigar, which as cigars more regularly seem to cost northwards of $10 these days, makes it almost seem like a value cigar, which may be the case because at $7 you cannot go wrong with the Chupacabra. Just keep it away from your goats. If you have goats. Price to quality 6.5 for the Chupacabra.
Nice. Big
It was
score on
a
that.
wonderful smoke, and I will be buying more. All right, we got to take a break. We have a whole lot to do on the program today, including a segment that I recorded in San Antonio at the Dos Sirenos Brewery, and then once we take a look at that, we'll actually try a Dos Sirenos beer right here on the show. That's coming up next. It's Smoking and Toast. Once again, all sound effects on the Smoking and Toasting program are performed live in the studio, and most of them are performed by Ian. So,
When you hear the sound of a beer
yeah,
being cracked open, what we actually do to create that sound is we crack open a beer.
yeah, and it's a really scientific process that's involved in all of this.
We want it to be as authentic as we can be.
That's right, absolutely. I had the pleasure, and it was a pleasure, of spending a long weekend in San Antonio over the holiday weekend for Memorial Day. And while I was there, my wife and I visited Dos Sirenos Brewery, which, by the way, was voted favorite brewery of the year in San Antonio last year by one of the newspapers or websites that does that sort of polling. And I found it to be really awesome. Here's what happened in San Antonio at Dos Sirenos Brewery, which, by the way, is Spanish for two Sirenos.
In San Antonio, Texas, at Dos Sirenos. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Dos Sirenos Brewery, and it's also a pretty interesting looking restaurant too. So we're gonna go inside. We're gonna check out the beer. And we're gonna drink. So Smoking and Toasting on location. We are at Dos Sirenos Brewery, San Antonio, Texas. By the way, they're also a very fine restaurant too, because we just finished lunch here, and it was fantastic. But about the beer, let's talk about the beer. This brewery was founded by a father and son named Sirenos, last name, so Dos Sirenos. Talks about the father and son, even though it's two very, shall we say, sexy-looking male mermaids on the logo. But that's not important right now. What we're going to do is we're going to taste some beer. Now, while I had my lunch here, I enjoyed the illicit pale ale. It was very good. And I also enjoyed a glass of their Hazy IPA, because that's what I gravitate towards. You guys know that. And I found that in particular to be very good. Now what I'm going to try is their ESB, which is called Southtown. This brewery is located in the area of San Antonio referred to as Southtown. So that's where that comes from. And then this is their Doppelbock called Tobinator. Haven't tasted either of these yet. I'm going to give this a go right now. It's so great for breweries to continue to make this style of ESB, the extra special bitter. It's such a lesser known style. I remember when I was up in the Boston area, the Red Hook Brewery made a great ESB, but for the most part, it's not nearly as well recognized in most breweries around the country, and so this is a great one. It has that bitter on the front and the bitter on the finish, but it's not like a hop bitter. It's a completely different style of bitter, and it really delivers in flavor. Now let's talk about the Tobinator. This is their Doppelbock, and this is it's roasted coffee beans on the nose. I can tell this is going to be a really big Doppelbock. And that's exactly what it is. Coffee, roasted coffee beans, real interesting notes of the sort of bitter coffee, balanced by a sweeter, sort of creamy undertone, and it's delicious. If you're a fan of a coffee stout, coffee porter, this would do the trick for you as well, this Doppelbock. This is good. This is so good. I'm going to be bringing some of this back to the studio. So Dos Sirenos Brewing, San Antonio, Texas. We've shown you some images of this place. I really like it. I will be back here. And by the way, for lunch, it's delicious.
So as you can see, pretty cool place. It was a little noisy there, but it was just because there were so many people in there drinking their beers and having a wonderful time.
Those segments where we have the background noise are just fine, my friend.
Yeah, especially if it's that kind of noise, because that
brings
noise
the party atmosphere.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
That sounds like it was so much fun.
As you can tell, I loved their beers, and I brought one of them back because I thought it might be just the type of thing that my drinking partner here would enjoy.
Before we started that segment, I poured the Tobinator, and I've been sitting here staring at it. It looks beautiful, like glossy dark brown.
You're a fan of the Doppelbock style, right?
I am. I love Doppelbock.
This is a 7.1 ABV, and I had it there out of the tap, so it'll be interesting to see how it compares with the canned version. But these were some of the cans they had for takeaway, and so I picked up a 4-pack of those.
I also love the name of it, the Tobinator. There's a brewery in Pennsylvania called Trogs.
Yep.
That has a Doppelbock called Troganator.
And I wonder if this is not even sort of
I wonder if they're doing that, kind of thing.
To that,
because it's a fantastic beer.
Now I already talked about this beer in the segment, so let's get your take on it.
It's got a coffee, real coffee kind of warm smell right off the nose. Coffee on the finish, but big, malty, round, burnt caramel.
Yes. Do you think that this might be one of
little nutmeg kind of thing?
One of the most coffee-tasting Doppelbocks,
without being an actual coffee beer. This
right, and it's not a porter. You know, porters often have that.
If you handed this to me as is and said, "What is this?" I would say a coffee porter.
Yeah, it has that level of coffee flavor to it.
It also has that mouthfeel to it. It's really a pretty big mouthfeel on it.
I'm not a big coffee guy, but I enjoy that in beers. That coffee flavor.
Coffee flavor is really nice in beers. It's really nice in chocolates too.
Yeah.
You know,
this would light up very nicely, or would pair up very nicely with a medium-bodied cigar. I'm thinking something like an Oliva Serie G, something like that.
That'd be really nice.
Would be very nice with this. Wow.
So, or even like a Candela, something that has a little bit of a different kind of
sweetness.
To it that would work in tandem with this instead of not against it.
I'm kind of digging it. Actually,
the aftertaste is delicious.
Yeah,
the aftertaste is like dry powdered cocoa.
So you know how sometimes coffee can leave a really bitter aftertaste that's not necessarily pleasant. What you're looking for is that roasted bean flavor, not that sort of burnt coffee aftertaste. Acidic, right?
Thing.
This does not have that on the finish.
No, it doesn't have the real acidic coffee.
It has that sort of richness of malt and coffee flavor. I think it's pretty darn good.
It finishes though that aftertaste. It's like if you've ever had a really good coffee ice cream, like that finish is a lot like that to me. Because there's a sweetness to the finish too, and there's a little vanilla in the back of this too.
Yes, there is on the finish for sure.
So this is really nice. Good job, guys.
Yeah, I thought their beers overall, everything that I tasted in the segment, I talked about their ESB. Which, first of all, I was just thrilled that they had one.
I love
they didn't have
ESBs.
They didn't have any for takeaway, but that was a wonderful beer as well. And then I got a growler. I didn't even drink it at the brewery, but I got a growler of their Hazy IPA and took it back to the Airbnb where we're staying.
Yeah.
It lasted one night. It was so good. It lasted one night. So anyway, hats off, and I can see why they won, the Brewery of the Year for San Antonio. They're doing some good work. They're doing God's work.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's the way I feel.
You keep
about
making beers like this, I'll have a reason to go to San Antonio.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. It's not that far of a drive. We can make it happen. And there's a Buc-ee's about 3/4 of the way between here and there. So
yes, there is a big Buc-ee's.
Well, doctors and researchers have been quick to hype the heart healing properties of red wine, but a new university study has revealed and I am not making this up, that craft beer might be even better for you than initially thought, according to
Bless that
a
university.
publication called The Drinks Business. The study is from California's Polytech State University. They found that craft beer, you asked the university, I told you, they found that craft beer, which is typically less pasteurized.
Wait. There's a study in California that doesn't cause cancer in something?
Well, I don't know. I haven't finished the whole
Slow
study.
down, Turbo.
I haven't finished the whole study yet. So, the study from Cal Polytech State University found that craft beer, which is typically less pasteurized than its mass market big beer counterparts, actually contains more good things, such as niacin or vitamin B3, and brewer's yeast, which has already been proven to lower bad cholesterol. Let me just read that last part of that again. Brewer's yeast has already been proven to lower bad cholesterol.
Drink beer and just lower
How come the
your blood
American Health Association doesn't tell anybody
So when
this?
my doctor says, you might want to cut back a little on the alcohol, I'm like, yeah, but you told me I needed to keep my bad cholesterol
That's
low.
right. See, that's how you do it.
I'm just saying. We all know that a glass of red wine is good for you, but it turns out a pint of craft beer is better. It's got more good things in it, according to Professor Mike McCullough, who led the study. And
You heard
he
it
is-
from us. It's more gooder.
He is my new hero.
Yes.
Not that I don't like wine, but your instances of heart disease and your instances of type 2 diabetes decreases on an amount that's comparable, if not a little bit more, than if you're drinking red wine.
And
I'm just going to work on my cholesterol here. Hold on.
you do that. Red wine is nice.
Yeah.
I do like a glass of red wine once in a while, but that's a once in a while thing. I like a glass of beer most times.
He does point out that you associate a beer drinker's diet with nachos and unhealthy eating habits, which is true. But he said the trend...
I mean, who would really? Oh yeah.
But
there's
wouldn't this make a wonderful commercial? I mean, you see those commercials like, Ozempic, I'm lowering my A1C or whatever, can't you just see like, yeah, like can't you-
Terminator.
Yeah, that's right. I'm lowering my cholesterol with
Tobinator.
beer. Drink more beer.
a hankering for a hunka.
Now you're bringing me back old school memories there. Thank you. He said that both the beer and red wine have the potential to prevent type 2 diabetes and heart disease. He did not suggest that craft beer gets less credit because of the unhealthy lifestyles that are more often linked with beer than wine. So they were talking about the fact that, eating nachos and that type of stuff, but the trend with more differentiated and higher end beer is that you are having it with meals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I enjoy a good beer with a, red wine risotto and a reduction sauce. I don't know what that is. I just heard it somewhere on a cooking show on TV. Clearly, beer has got a historical subtext that's tainted by the not-so-subtle classism, which sometimes can color even the most scientifically sound research. So, anyway, this study helps further redeem beer's apparently tarnished image with regard to health, especially when compared to wine. If you want to check out this story for yourself, there's a website called AmericanCraftBeer.com that has it, and it's Beer versus Wine. The Health Debate Continues is the name of that of that article.
Very nice. It's nice to hear some good news once in a while.
Yeah, and I'm feeling healthier by the minute right now.
That's right. got a healthy flush to my face and everything.
Yeah, it's working, I think. I'm digging it. This Tobinator is really good.
Yeah,
a
it's
really
pretty,
good beer.
pretty darn good.
Yeah. I was thinking about this while I was at Dos Sirenos, and they were super friendly, super nice people. You saw some of their merch in the segment. But I was just thinking about, how consistently good most breweries are. Most craft breweries, when you get there, you go in, I certainly, when you're buying stuff at the store, I certainly have my favorites and things that I think stand out from the pack. Mm-hmm. But it almost seems like anytime you go into a brewery, a craft brewery, at least based on my experience, you're going to find some good beer. You might not like everything they offer, but if you do a little, and most of them will do flights for you. They'll do tastings. One of the things I really liked about Dos Sirenos is you could order just a tasting size pour of whatever beer you wanted from the menu. So you kind of set up your own flight if you wanted to.
Yeah, they'll do
your
that.
own
It's
tasting.
a few dollars per. But a lot of places too will just pour you a sip.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
literally just a taste. You want to taste it
too.
first?
It's kind of like being at Baskin Robbins when you're a kid, right?
Right.
Did you ever go to Baskin Robbins and order your ice cream before you tried samples of at least 8 or 9
samples?
Okay, I'll try the bubblegum. There is a bubblegum ice cream, by the way.
Yes. It's very chewy.
Yeah, it's not very good. Yeah, I mean it's tasty, but who wants to hit a piece of bubblegum in your ice cream?
Like those ones you'd get off the ice cream truck that had the bubblegum ice.
Yeah. Just
Hard piece of gum.
just
bubblegum.
don't make no sense. So anyway, we have time, I think, in this segment. I have something that I'd like to talk about, and it's something that's been bothering me every week as I get ready to do
I'm
the
getting
show.
that feeling, when my wife says, "Hey, we need to talk," I'm kind of getting that vibe from you right now.
Actually, I was just wondering, do you have any soapboxes? Because I'd really like to stand on one while I do this. No, listen, every week when I'm getting ready for the show, I'm online looking for stories about, craft beer and cigars and spirits and things that we can talk about on the show, like that whole article about, beer being as good for you, if not better than red wine. These are, I think, interesting things for us to discuss. So every week when I'm on doing these stories or looking for them, I always see at least one, maybe more, stories about proposed cigar lounges in cities all over the country, and how members of the communities are protesting against them, trying to get the city governments to not allow cigar lounges to be open.
Why would they do that?
I feel like it's just another one of those instances where people are lobbying to take your rights away. I have a very simple and very effective solution for people who don't want to have cigar lounges in their city or town. If you don't like cigar lounges, don't go to one.
Are these the same cities and towns that have adult bookstores?
Well, there's cities and towns all over the place. So I'm sure a whole bunch of them do.
And places like that, but cigar lounges are something you can't have.
But if you think about it, I mean, it's really a pretty easy choice to make. If you don't like
Topless
cigar lounges,
bars, fully
don't
nude
go to
bars.
one. Yeah.
Right? You're okay with that, but
listen,
cigar lounges, no way, buddy.
It seems like something that would have been protested back in 1904.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been like.
Well, I think maybe back in 1904, everybody smoked cigars.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
This is more. Listen, let me tell you, I'm not a big fan of coffee. I will drink it sometimes, usually with a cigar, but in general, I don't really enjoy it, and I'm not into the whole coffee shop culture, right? Or using Starbucks language to have to describe a large drink as a grande. Please, give me a break. So you know what I do about this? I don't go to coffee shops. It's that simple. But millions of people do, and they really enjoy the coffee, and maybe even like the vibe of the coffee shop. So what kind of narcissistic jerk would I have to be to advocate for coffee shops to be closed down or that proposed new ones should not be allowed to open? It's not really any of my business, is it?
Right.
So my message to you anti-cigar lounge crusaders is mind your own effing business. Don't go to cigar lounges and leave people who do enjoy doing it alone.
Yeah.
We know that there's potential health risks to smoking cigars, although they're certainly not as big as smoking cigarettes. But as smokers, it's our choice to make, not yours. Eating at McDonald's every day is probably not good for you either. So what's next? The anti-Big Mac lobby? Let's start thinking like the people who founded this country. It's supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. You opposing cigar lounges is neither promoting freedom nor bravery. Enough said. Now I'm going to go smoke a cigar. Have a nice day.
Well, like I said, I'm amazed. I'll reiterate one more time. No one's crusading against topless bars. No one's crusading against.
Well, some people probably do, but you're right. Not on this level.
Not on this level.
Yeah.
Well, and they're already there. There's tons of them, right?
Right.
So a cigar lounge, that's really gonna degrade the whole system, right?
Again,
what if my 5-year-old goes over and gets a cigar?
So instead of a guy going out and being bored and going, well, there's a topless bar right here. I can stop and have a few drinks on my way home.
Saying there's a moral advantage to the cigar bar.
Right around the corner is a cigar lounge. You know what? On my way home, I'm going to have a cigar, and then I'm going to go home and chill.
Well, we told the story last week about the state there's one city, rather, I'll have to go back and look and see what city it was, where they've now imposed a 15-minute limit on the amount of time you can smoke a cigar in a cigar lounge.
Outrageous, yeah, remember that story.
Although I will say, sales of those little tins of cigarillos have gone through the roof in that town.
I bet.
Yeah. So it's like, hey,
You've
look
created
at this.
a whole cottage industry.
It's the kind of cigar that Ian smokes floating down the river. Yeah, those are not selling. You could probably get a good deal on them there because they're not selling. All right, we got to take a break. And when we return, there will be more tasting on the program. As a matter of fact, we have a Mortal Bloom Hazy IPA waiting in the wings from, I don't know, some brewery called Founders in Michigan.
What do they know about
What do
beer?
they know about beer? We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
I love those things.
This is show number 383 for those of you who've been keeping track and for those of you who haven't. And we want to actually give a big shout out to our radio affiliates. We appreciate you guys carrying the program. If there is no Smoking and Toasting on the radio in your market, well, go to the general managers of the talk station or whatever station. Heck, we don't care what station they put us on. Put us on any station. Just tell them I want my S&T. It worked for MTV. Maybe it'll work for us.
I want my S&T.
If your local cigar retailer is a top Ashton account, then you may already be able to try the new La Aroma de Cuba Noblesse. 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 So I'm guessing it's
Noblesse.
Noblesse?
You're probably pronouncing it more correct than I am.
I don't know. Anyway, first shipments of new cigars are heading now to select shops around the United States. According to brand owner Ashton Distributors, Inc., this initial shipment of Noblesse, or Noblesse, is only going to the company's top 300 accounts, and only 3,000 boxes are being released. If your tobacconist isn't a top shop, then you will have to wait for a future shipment. As an added bonus, they are also including a limited edition sampler that includes 4 cigars, one of each size, and a branded St. DuPont Max Jet lighter. That set has a suggested...
I'm pretty sure that's cheap.
Yeah, it's suggested retail price of $375, and there's only 800 of them available. But the Noblesse was on exhibit in Ashton's booth during the PCA show in March, and it is the 7th in the line of the La Aroma de Cuba series, which is made in Nicaragua by My Father Cigars. The new version is slightly different from the original. The wrapper went from Ecuador Habano to a darker Mexican San Andres Oscuro. The binder and fillers are all Nicaraguan, and there's a new packaging design, and it's available in 4 sizes. A Regency, which is 5.5 by 50, it's $19. The Coronation, 6 by 52, is $19.50. The Viceroy, 6.25 by 52, is $19.75, and the one called Monarchy, 6.5 by 56, is $20. So not cheap, but not nearly as expensive as when they include the DuPont lighter. So.
Right.
So,
my wife bought me one of those DuPont lighters.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure which model it is. I was actually looking up here to see what it's called. But it's amazing.
It really kind of continues to work.
It's way above my station.
I have,
and every time I click it, it lights like without fail.
I have had a number of Zycar lighters, which I really like until I don't.
Yes, until they don't work.
Until they don't work anymore. They're great until they stop working.
Yeah, so mine's one of the
frustrating.
extreme ones. It's what it is.
It's like my car.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic, man. It works every single time. It holds a ton of fluid too. So you can use it forever until it finally goes out. And it has a very clear, the little tiny windows you get some of the Zycar ones when you're trying to look at. This one has a very clear,
so
easy
you can
to read.
See if you need more fluid or not.
Easy
Yeah,
to
I
read
like
even from a distance.
Founders Brewing in Michigan, I think at Grand Rapids, I believe. These guys have brewed some great beers. Their heavier, bigger beers are fantastic. And then they gave the world, in my mind, the sessionable IPA that all others have to be measured against, which is the all-day IPA from Founders. This is their Mortal Bloom Hazy IPA, and it says on the can, citrusy and tropical
It
notes.
smells a little blood orange, like a little blood orangey, if you will.
There is a little bit of that on the nose, yes.
Yeah. So it's what a cool looking can too. Mortal bloom.
Man, are you ever right about the blood orange?
Yeah.
So this is pretty hoppy. I'm a little surprised for a hazy at the amount of hops that I get in there, but I don't dislike it.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. It's got
It's
a little
good.
hop.
Oh, the finish is so interesting.
Well, the finish is less of a hop bitter and more of almost a blood orange bitter, I think.
Yeah.
The finish is outrageously good on this. Mm-hmm. It's a little, you get the tropical, almost a mango-y kind of thing going on the finish, too.
These guys know what they're doing. I mean, they really do. And for them to be able to brew things like the Arrogant Bastard and then still, or am I getting
Not
that
arrogant
wrong? That's
bastard, dirty bastard.
Dirty Bastard, thank you. I knew it was a bastard of some sort. For them to be able to
Here
brew
they
something
come.
like that,
Dirty.
or like what is their, they have
The breakfast stout.
Yeah, the breakfast. I mean, for them to be able to brew those and then come back and do these kind of IPAs,
Oh, yeah.
it just shows you the sort of depth,
The scope of their versatility, yeah.
Absolutely, and not just these are not just token IPAs. These are really, really good.
Really well balanced, really front to back deliciousness here. This is 6.2% by volume coming in.
Don't know how this would go with a cigar, but that's why
This would, I don't think, go very well with a cigar.
That's why I enjoy IPAs when I'm doing the dishes, because I'm not smoking in the kitchen. So it's IPA time. Oh man! Just real quick before we end the segment, I got that growler of the Hazy IPA from Dos Sirenos Brewing that I mentioned earlier, and I drank the whole thing while I was doing dishes at the Airbnb. Here's my question: is it bad form to take another brewery's growler to a different brewery
No.
and ask them to fill? They don't mind.
They will
right?
fill any growler.
And particularly if it's from out of town. It's not like
No, they'll fill any growlers. As a matter of fact, that's what you call a conversation starter.
Oh, I like it. We'll have more of that conversation coming up at Smoking and Toasting. Drinking News is on the way, and Ian's telling me he has some sort of surprise, so we'll get to that next. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Smoking and Toasting. We're into hour 2 of today's program, the 383rd edition of Smoking and Toasting. And we didn't talk about the mathematics at the beginning of the show, but I did a little calculating of my own this weekend and realized that we can now actually say that we're halfway to 500.
That's true.
So 383 halfway to 500 works out
that math
almost
works.
exactly. You carry the 1 and move the decimal over a couple of points, and it all works out.
Drop the S and turn it around.
That's right. That's right. Which I think makes it Latin. I'm not sure. But anyway. Hey, just another cigar to watch for. General Cigars' CAO brand is releasing a new line. So they've already got their basic CAO line, and then they've got what I call the motorcycle and auto line, which is like the camshaft and all the ones that are very mechanically oriented. But now they're releasing a new line that showcases how different wrapper leaves impact the flavor of a cigar. And you and I remember this from when we were at the Aladino Farms in Honduras. They actually had us light a cigar, and then they had one of their guys from the factory take another different wrapper leaf and basically wrap it around the cigar that we were smoking.
But a little ways down, so you get to smoke the cigar
So
you
you
were
smoke the
smoking.
cigar a little bit, and then all of a sudden it hits that other wrapper leaf, and you're like, that really does change.
The flavor changes dramatically, yeah.
So that's what this new line of cigars from CAO is about, and it's the CAO FASA line, F-A-S-A. So it's the exact same blend of binder and filler tobaccos, but it comes in your choice of 2 different wrappers. It comes in 2 lines, the Sola, which is the day, and the Noche, which is night. Sola is rolled at the factory in Honduras with a Honduran Olancho San Agustin wrapper, while Noche is made at the SCG Esteli factory in Nicaragua, and it's draped in Connecticut broadleaf. The effect of these different cover leaves with the same binder and filler, according to the senior brand manager at CAO, is quite apparent. They could not be more alike, yet they could not be more different. They're literally like night and day. They come in Toros and Gigantes, and they're going to retail for about $6.99 for the Toro and $7.99 for the Gigantes.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about trying them. According to General, one cigar is more full-bodied than the other, but to ascertain which one is stronger, you're going to have to smoke them yourself. I'm betting it's the Nicaraguan one that's stronger.
Oh, right.
But I could be wrong. So we'll look forward to trying them. All right, so on the program we do the segment that we call the beverage of mystery, and it's where we bring in one of us will bring in a beverage, and only the person what brung it knows what it is.
Yes,
right.
The
and so
person what brung
I did
it.
that earlier in the show with that. What was it? The one that was kind of half wine, half
Tequila
beer.
Saison.
Yes, and
It was very good.
We wound up actually really liking that. So now Ian has informed me that he also brought a beverage of mystery, making this the first ever smoking interest.
Beverage of mystery.
A double beverage of mystery show.
Double
We've had two.
beverage of mystery.
Double the beverage of mystery, double the fun. So anything you want to tell us about this before we sniff it and taste it?
No, you go right ahead.
You know, I'm just
Let me
going
know
to
what
tell
you
you
think.
right off. I can tell you this is either going to be as good or we're going to not like it because it has.
There's no middle ground
It
here,
has,
my friend.
it has a very, very fruity, but there's something scary in it. It's like that Jello shot that's made with Everclear
Well,
that has like a real like.
And you're like,
when you sniff it, you're
whoa.
like, oh, that smells like Jello shot and alcohol.
Yes.
You know, it's.
This I said Jello shot in a cup when Ian set these down during the break, but now that I've sniffed it, I have two words for you: watermelon Jolly Rancher.
It really,
You remember those?
It does.
And when you were a kid, you would get them like in the candy machine at school.
Yeah.
And maybe this is because I went to school in South Texas, but the wrapper would be stuck to the Jolly Rancher.
yeah,
You have to
100%.
peel it off, and it'd be all nasty. But boy, once you got to that Jolly Rancher, it was
good.
it was
It was
watermelon time.
flavorful, yes.
Yeah. So that's what I get on the nose. I will.
I can't wait to see what you think.
Whoa.
Wow, that is.
The whoa.
So there is that candy flavor on the finish, but I'm trying to detect what alcohol that is
Yeah.
because there's a lot of it actually.
It's got some booze in it. Yeah, it's
I would say vodka, but this is a rum. This is a rum-based thing or something. Or gin almost. Maybe a gin base.
once I say it, you'll parse it out.
Like, do you get the gin? I don't know. It's like watermelon Jolly Rancher dipped in gin.
All right, let us know what we're drinking here.
The big reveal.
The big reveal. Holy moly! It's Minute Maid spiked.
You know, I'm so glad you got that.
Strawberry daiquiri.
I saw that at the store the other day, and it was pointed out to me, and I was like, oh, that would be a good beverage of mystery. Except I saw the one that was yellow colored. This is the red colored.
Yeah, this is the strawberry daiquiri. So
Minute Maid spiked, made with 3% lime juice.
no,
And the Minute Maid Brewery right
Strawberry
here in
daiquiri
Houston.
flavored wine cocktail coming in at 13.9%. It says other than standard orange wine with natural flavors and certified color. So I'll tell you the
certified color.
certified color.
I certify that this is strawberry colored.
Red dye number 5.
Strawberry daiquiri. What do they call it? A wine cocktail?
Flavored wine cocktail. Minute Maid spiked flavored wine cocktails are great takes on the classics. We put on all the work so you don't miss a moment with others. Enjoy responsibly.
Well, first off, you got to say the Minute Maid factory is right, or the Minute Maid headquarters is right down there in Sugar Land. Or
Well,
whatever.
that's right.
It's
And Minute
across
Maid
from
is
Town Hall.
they
run that
sponsor
place.
our baseball
Yes,
stadium.
they do.
So
So
interesting.
here's the funny thing. How drinkable do you think this is?
I
Like,
think it's
opinion.
reasonably drinkable. Yeah.
My wife opened this yesterday because she was just super intrigued by it. And she'll
Yeah.
try any ready to drink,
Yeah.
right? And by the way, I have a show coming up that we're gonna do, and it's gonna be all about buzzballs.
Oh, how fun!
We'll get into that later. But so she bought this because she was so intrigued by it. She's bought so many different ready to drink cocktails, and probably 85% of them are terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
She
A lot of the
opened
ones
this
we've
one up
tried,
yesterday,
easily.
and it smelled awful, and it tasted terrible. What's amazing is I opened it up today and went, "Oh, it actually smells pretty good," and poured it in, and then tried it, and it tastes actually okay.
Do you think it's because it breathed? I
think
totally
it
serious.
might have needed to breathe a little bit because it really was rank yesterday.
It says it's a wine cocktail. Wine often needs to breathe.
You
Maybe
know,
it could.
I don't know. As far as wine, I know you're supposed to drink wine just by itself, but honestly, I think that wouldn't be bad if you took it and just shook it up with some ice, like in a shaker, and then poured it really super cold.
Well, I think this
that
is
might-
made to be
think cold would
served
help you.
over
Yeah.
ice. You know,
Yeah,
I
like
think
over ice.
and garnished with a lime or something like that. But I got to tell you, the flavor from yesterday to today, it's way better today.
Well,
Interesting.
interestingly enough, the bar downstairs in my building, there's a bar called Market Bar, and they always have really good craft beers on tap. I enjoy going down there, getting an appetizer every once in a while and a craft beer.
They usually have pretty good band playing in there too.
Their cocktails are all wine based because their liquor license is beer and wine.
Mm-hmm.
So they do some pretty interesting wine based cocktails, some of which are pretty good. So it can be
So
done.
the wine that you get for wine-based cocktails is not the wine that you buy at a store. It's a very different kind of wine.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I don't know
But
what
see,
kind of wine
It's
you
that-
get.
literally just it's wine in name, but it's basically an alcohol delivery system for whatever you want to mix it with.
So it basically comes in a big jar with a white label and it just says wine in black block letters.
Maybe.
Which-
Probably just in a box, I would say.
Yeah, that's true.
But
well,
you know,
I will say about this though, this is better than like a white Zinfandel boxed wine.
This is okay. So this is oddly better than some of the seltzers and other stuff that we've had in here. And as of yesterday, I thought it was going to be kind of bad, but I thought it was worth a try because it's Minute Maid.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw it at Walmart.
You know,
it's a pretty
So-
major brand name. So
Yeah.
and it's a big old bottle too. It's a 1.5 liter
Yeah.
bottle.
No,
So
it is a major brand
get
name.
get your woo on. You know.
Yeah, in the fact that you did see, like when I went to Walmart, they already had it's Minute Maid. They had their own display for it already
Yeah,
because they're
yeah.
big enough that they had it out.
Well,
you know,
sure,
they're going to
yeah.
move some of that.
well, Minute Maid, they sell tons of orange juice. So
Yeah.
So my suggestion, if you decide to try this, open it up and let it sit a little bit.
yeah.
And there
I can't
are other
believe we're
flavors.
saying that about a strawberry daiquiri in a bottle.
There are other flavors. The one I saw was yellow. I'm not sure what flavor it was, but it was yellow.
This is just our new. You know what this is? This right here. These things right here are basically. You know, when we were young, we had Mad Dog.
Yeah.
We had MD 2020.
This is better than
We
MD
had
2020.
Orange Jubilee. And we
Well-
had.
Thank you, Fred Sanford.
I can't remember any of the other flavors.
Ripple.
Ripple. That was what he always Ripple.
So,
And we had Strawberry Hill.
yes,
Oh,
Boone's
yes,
Farm.
yes.
Yes.
And you had Strawberry Hill was one of the flavors. And you had Country Quencher was one of the flavors. So like this is, I think, the new generations. This is the.
I think these are basically just cocktails for lazy people. You
It
know?
is. I don't think this is particularly good, but also on the second day trying it now, it's not that bad.
Hey, some people aren't good at mixing.
Well, listen, my wife loves the vodka gimlets that I make, but she always feels kind of bad asking me to make them because she knows, okay, I got to squeeze the lime juice, I got to make the simple syrup, I got to,
That's what makes it good, though.
that is what makes it good, and what makes it better than this, and not even knocking this, but I think these are like just cocktails for lazy people.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
There's a lot of people out there who like big flavor and don't care
Hey,
about
you know,
quality.
you're
Yeah.
throwing a party or you got all the stuff
If
for it. You know, you need some stuff to round it out. There you
If
go.
you went to a party not knowing what this was, and it was the punch, right? It was what you
Ooh.
could dip. Like, would you keep going back for more? I probably would.
You know, in a glass with some
Yeah.
ice, it's
Yeah.
probably
but if you
passable.
punched it up, you would put a little bit of fruit in it and then put some ice in it, put it in the
Oh,
punch
I'd
bowl,
drop
and
some
man,
Everclear in there.
that
some
would be
vodka.
great.
You don't want to drop Everclear
I
into
love
anything.
Ian's solution to everything. Like when I made
Is
that drink
add
with
more
the
liquor.
just add more liquor. Maybe we should add less liquor. No, we should add more. A
Let's
lot
go
more.
the other direction with that.
I'm with you. And you know, I always told you about my ex-wife used to like to make sangria. And when you make sangria, you're supposed to buy cheap wine.
Yeah.
So she'd go get like this jug of like fairly generic red wine. And she was so like self-conscious that she had to tell the checkout person, I'm making sangria. So the checkout person wouldn't
Wouldn't
that
judge
she's
her.
buying cheap jug wine to take home and drink.
Yeah, but by saying
my
that,
ex-wife.
you give us other reasons to judge you.
That's right. And we will continue to
It's,
do
you
that.
know, I can't believe this, but it's actually tastes better the second day after it's been open.
Are you going for more? Is that
I'm
what you're
gonna,
doing?
Pour
Ian's
myself
gonna
a little
pour
more.
himself a little
I
more.
wouldn't argue with a little more, too, to
Oh
tell
my
you the
God.
truth.
I have a feeling
It's
Terry's
not
taking this home with him.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're right. All right, we got to take a break. We will be right back. Drinking News is not far away, and we're going to taste tequila next. Real tequila.
Real tequila.
Oh, that was so nice. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. By the way, since we did 2 Beverage of Mystery segments today, I should probably tell you that the Beverage of Mystery music is called The Visitor, and it's by Shane Ivers. You can find it at chosick.com. Shane is kind enough to allow us to use the music, so we'll give him a little plug as well. If you're looking for that kind of music for you're doing YouTube videos or TikToks or whatever, good place to go and find that type of stuff. I find it interesting that TikToks are not called TikTok videos; they're just called TikToks. Like when you post on Instagram, you don't say, "Yeah, I made an Instagram."
Right.
And when you post on Facebook, you don't say, "Yeah, I made a Facebook." But when you post on TikTok, you're like, "Yeah, I made a TikTok."
I made a boom boom.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that is what I'm getting at. So I just want to mention this one more time. We talked about it in the first segment or in the first hour of the show, but I am so stoked that the Chobani yogurt people have bought the rights to Anchor Brewing, and they plan to reopen the brewery in San
I
Francisco.
know, that's pretty awesome.
That's so cool.
It really kind of makes sense that a yogurt company could do a brewery too. Doesn't it seem like that
Well,
would
there's some fermentation
Yeah,
involved,
exactly,
I guess,
right?
in both.
I
Right?
mean, there's
science
yogurt
of it?
cultures, there's beer culture.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, come on.
I feel like there's a lot of crossover that the scientists that do the food scientists would be like.
There's
yeah.
a yeasty thing,
Yeah, and I will tell you,
kind
though,
of
yeah.
ascribed to both of them.
Exactly. See.
I will tell you though that I was a little sad this last Christmas because I didn't get to.
Yeah,
have
we talked about that.
the,
It was.
I
Christmas
remember
sale.
you saying that. Yes.
I was a little sad because that was always part of the holidays for
You
me.
were really
and when it comes to
upset.
holidays, people have traditions, right? One of my traditions is I don't have a lot of traditions, but one of mine is that on Christmas Eve I watch the Christmas Carol version with George C. Scott as Scrooge, which I love. I know it's old, it's 80s, whatever, but I think that's absolutely awesome. I love it, and that's part of what makes Christmas for me. And so the other part that I missed this year was the Anchor Brewing Christmas Ale.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was the Mr. Hanky Christmas special.
Well, that's you're right. That is part of Christmas too. I just didn't want to,
New trends in Christmas. Christmassy things. The Isle of Misfit Toys. The Bumble
sure.
and everything.
That's a thing. Bumbles
classic.
bounce.
We used
That's the thing about Bumbles.
we used to watch those. What are those things called? That style of animation.
I call it like the Rankin Bass.
It was,
sort of stop
We used
action.
to- we used
stop
to
action,
watch
that's what it was.
all of those every year
My favorite.
growing up.
My favorite is in the one, I think it's Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which tells the story of Kris Kringle and how he got to be Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the part they put in that's totally made up. It's not part of the real Santa Claus story, but where he meets the penguin. And,
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, oh, hi, little fella. And the penguin goes, womp, womp. And he goes, what's that? What's your name? Womp, womp. Are you from the South Pole? Womp, womp. North Pole? Womp, womp. The North Pole? Well, I'll call you Topper. What? As a kid, I was like mystified by that. Why did he call him Topper?
Because it's on the top of the world.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Even then, I was like, that's not part of the real Santa Claus story.
Come on,
That
I like
was
the,
made
what
up.
about the
Santa Claus and his
Mr.
penguin.
Cold
Oh, those are
Miser?
great. Yeah, those are great.
Come on.
Those are absolutely great.
I love that we're talking about Christmas and it's just
It's like
begun.
100
Christmas in
degrees
It's just
July.
outside.
begun June, right?
That's right.
It's the Christmas in July sale.
Well,
I'm
let's
smoking
talk
and
about
toasting.
something that will make you feel kind of Christmassy all over, and that is the tequila from Cazcabel.
Now, while you guys were doing a lot of that thing where your mouth's moving, the sound's coming out, but I'm not listening, were you talking.
I was I was doing the Topper routine, I'll have you know.
Totally teasing. You were getting saucy here today.
Yes.
This Cazcabel is delicious.
Yeah, oh, you've already done that much research.
I've been doing research. 100% de agave, tequila anejo, Cazcabel. It's let's see here, hand harvested 100% blue guave from Los Altos de Jalisco, Mexico, aged in American oak for distinct toasted vanilla and caramel notes, and it is Very vanilla.
Okay, so
I got a lot of
caramel
pepper
notes.
on it.
yes, I got a lot of pepper up front,
Yeah.
and it definitely has a tequila hug on the finish that takes a minute to come back. Like, you don't get it right away after you swallow.
Yeah.
But a minute later it comes
This-
back, and when it does, that's when you get the vanilla.
Yeah,
Along with
and
the
the
heat.
retrohale
Yeah.
is huge. It just this big sweet thing, and you're 100% right.
Oh, yeah.
And it literally takes like if I take a sip now, I'll let you know when it hits me home.
Okay, swallow.
Okay, now I've swallowed. Now it's gonna take longer than you think for that to come back up,
Here it
Oh,
and then
you're
it's this
right.
right about there. It's this blossom of vanilla
Yeah.
aftertaste
It's-
and a
it's
little bit of a
heat.
hug in the back of the.
Yeah.
It's heat and pepper, but it comes with vanilla.
Because on the first sip, all I got was pepper, 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 pepper. But you're right. I
When
get
you-
that.
And the flavors
Right, when
I'm
you-
talking about, this is also besides the
And it's good
the
pepper.
obvious agave flavors that are there.
Sure,
Like the
yeah.
agave, because the pepper on the agave is quite big on this. I do enjoy it.
I feel like it's a more delayed tequila hug than just about any tequila that I've had. The fact that it takes that long for that heat to come back,
Yeah.
it's kind of unusual.
And it lingers a bit in a beautiful
it
way.
does.
The finest tequila blessed by the mythical Mexican curador Don Cazcabel, the snake man of the Jalisco Mountains, produced by Tequila Artesanal de los Altos de Jalisco.
I'm sorry, did you say the snake man?
The snake man of the Don Cazcabel, the snake man of the Jalisco Mountains.
So we're getting interesting now.
Tequila
I'm thinking
Anejo,
the snake
Cazcabel
man, you
de
know?
agave.
I like it. All right, we got to take a break. Speaking of things I like drinking news. I'll go ahead and admit
I
it.
like
I'm all
tequila.
in. I'm all in on drinking news, and we will do it next. We already gave you our drinking news teaser headline, which is Some Like It Warm. Yeah. And so we'll get to drinking news next on Smoking and Toasting. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back, my friends and my neighbors and my people who don't consider themselves friends. You're welcome here, too. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We come to you from our home studios in Houston, Texas, but we do shows all over the place. We did a segment on today's show that was in San Antonio, and I understand we're very soon, in a few weeks, going to be down at the Vinyl Draft.
Yeah, we're gonna be down to Vinyl
Lounge,
Draft
huh?
in Kemah, Texas. Kemah is a wonderful place. It's if you're ever in the Texas area and you're wondering what to do, go to the Kemah Boardwalk.
They have a boardwalk, yeah.
Yeah, they have events all the time there. They have a roller coaster.
So
It's
music and all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah.
and drinks and great restaurants
Vinyl Draft, yeah.
Vinyl Draft is just 2 blocks from the main part of the boardwalk,
And they have like a whole steakhouse downstairs.
It's this old, beautiful 2-story house. The downstairs is a steakhouse, and outrageously good, beautiful whiskey selection and cocktails. And then upstairs is a cigar lounge,
Nice.
and
We've been
they
there.
have cigars there on hand. Like,
Yeah, we've been there. It's
yeah,
wonderful.
it's so good, so good,
we had
so
such a
wonderful.
fun show
They
there.
have a
'cause
nice patio out back and everything.
yeah, able to smoke, and it's a good place for us to go and do a show where we can smoke in the summer because it's air conditioned in the
Yes,
cigar
true,
lounge. So that's always a good thing, right?
But it's a beautiful place. Yeah, it's so fun to be there. And
Looking forward to that. I just want to mention one thing about this Cazcabel Anejo tequila. The heat of it that we were talking about, that heat that comes back very late, it mellows a little bit as you have more. Like it
it's a
doesn't,
mellow heat anyway, though.
Right,
It's
right.
also a very mellow hug.
but it's not something that is off-putting at all. It's just you're kind of waiting for
It's
it.
just the heat of the moment.
You're kind of
It's a
waiting for
hug,
it.
like a friend you haven't seen since you were about 11 years old. Like a flower.
I'm sorry, all I can
That
think
blew
about is
off
the
into the
Asia
wind.
song that Terry referenced. So perhaps at this point we should just go right into drinking news.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
Rowdy Yates.
Rowdy
I love
Yates
that guy.
on the
Nobody
Gator
has
line.
a voice like that guy.
No, he's one of a kind, and he's a friend of ours. We love him. So, Drinking News is the segment on the program where we bring you a story from the news that has been in print somewhere. It's not a parody story. It's not like The Onion. We love The Onion, but this is not from that. This is apparently a real story from somewhere, and it is often, although not always, about drinking, but it is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking.
I just got to say, too, while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and open up this beer and start pouring it.
I think you should.
And just for the beer, I have to play this. Oh, I played that wrong.
The reason he's doing that, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is an Imperial Stout that is called Bark at the Moon.
Yeah.
And so, yes, nicely done.
There you have it.
Although it does have a different, slightly less ominous tone on the ukulele.
You know, if I feel like if Jakey Lee played ukulele, I think he'd understand what was happening.
I think probably so.
I mean, that guy was a brilliant guitar player. Yeah. I was talking during the break, like, because we were talking about the Bark at the Moon thing. Listen, I love Randy Rhoads. He's one of my absolute favorite guitar players that has existed, and I can play some Randy Rhoads stuff. But nobody can play Jakey Lee. And it's not even like his lead stuff, it's his rhythms.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't play like Jakey Lee. There's something about it.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is so good.
All right.
All right.
I
back.
will,
sorry.
I will not dispute you in any way on that.
Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
There we go.
Well, ever since Drinking News has become a regular feature here on Smoking and Toastin', it has added a rather interesting task to my normal week, which is searching to find a true story that's appropriate for this segment. And while it sometimes takes a while to locate a story which will achieve my specific goal, which, by the way, is not to right a great wrong or to give our listeners some kind of guidance.
I mean, let's be honest. Your standards are low.
Those things may happen, and they can be really important. But if I'm to be honest with you, I really have only one clear and determinative purpose with each week's Drinking News. And I will reveal it to you now.
Are you ready?
It's to make Ian laugh. That's it. If he laughs, I consider Drinking News a success. If he doesn't, I make a silent, solemn pledge to do better next time.
Do better, man.
And while it may sometimes take me a while to find a story that will bring a smile to the lips of my drinking and smoking buddy, there is never a shortage of stories about people doing stupid things.
Again, your bar is a little low because it's really not that hard to make me laugh.
There are dozens of these kind of stories, maybe even hundreds, nay, thousands a week, every week. A disproportionately large amount of them, as you probably already know, seem to happen in Florida. But a surprising number of these stories also involve something that happened in a Walmart. Or if not a Walmart, a fast food restaurant or a convenience store.
Walmart should have its own theme.
An old girlfriend of mine's father was a manager at a very busy convenience store. And I wish I remembered some of the customer stories he used to tell me, because I'd have Drinking News material for years. For some unknown reason, whenever people get close to a display of Twinkies, all rationality seems to fly right out the window. And so we return to the convenience store this week for the tale of one Parul Patel, a Florida man who manages just such a store in Jacksonville. As the manager, Mr. Patel deals with the usual issues that customers bring, from gummy bear theft to them not understanding the complex set of controls on a Slurpee machine. It's one freaking handle, people.
It's a knob.
Yeah, to the occasional complete and absolute trashing of the store's restroom. And as a sidebar, who waits until they're at 7-Eleven to take a colossal, mind-altering dump? I mean,
Sorry, did it was that place wrong?
Well, who thinks to themselves, I could go before I leave the house, but no. I want to stock the pond with my toxic brown trout in the luxurious confines of the Circle K employee bathroom instead.
All right. Well, in their defense, let's just talk a little bit of sense now. Who wants to do that at their own house?
Well, at least there
If
you
you're
can...
going to paint the walls, my friend.
Yeah, well... It is a question for the ages, but it's not exactly important right now because our Florida man. That was almost reverent. Our Florida man, the manager of this particular
I can do
convenience
it real
store,
sad too. Florida
minor key.
man.
I feel a little sad listening to that. I actually do.
Ukulele can never be sad.
Ukulele and the banjo. They just can't be sad. But our Florida man, the manager of this particular convenience store, had a different problem. In the mecca of Florida goodness, that is Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, baby.
Convenience store manager Parul Patel is dealing with something else. He's continually faced with the problem of customers coming into the store and
It's the worst.
and using the self-serve food prep microwave to warm up their urine.
Wait, what?
And even stranger, he's had several customers that have done it multiple times.
Pee in a bag.
It's not hot enough.
Now, you might wonder why a Florida man or woman.
Is he right next to the drug testing facility? What's going
You
on
might
here?
wonder why a Florida man or woman would want to warm up their whiz in a device that's normally used for hot dogs and burritos. Why would they want to broil a baggage of their body's own pee-pee in the same appliance that should be reserved for heating your sausage and egg breakfast on a 3-week-old English muffin? Well, our investigative team here at Drinking News believes that we've found the answer. According to the National Institute of Health, heating urine can alter the measured concentration of substances contained in it. In other words, they're doing it to try and pass a drug test.
Of course.
Boil that on out.
Apparently, however, they didn't read all of the NIH's guidelines because in order to do this successfully, you would need to toast the tinkle at 100 degrees Celsius for 1 hour. Sorry, sir, I know you want to warm up your cold Greek yogurt and mystery meat burrito, but I got 58 minutes left on the timer. It's going to be a while. The microwave at Patel's convenience store now bears a large and clearly worded sign. And if you ask me, there's something terribly wrong in the Sunshine State that this sign ever had to be posted. It says, in plain English, "Don't microwave your urine."
You know, it's Florida. You can leave it outside in 100-degree weather for like an hour.
You can leave it in the sun for an hour. Yeah, if it needs to be 100 degrees.
Come on now.
It seems clear to us here at Drinking News that Mr. Patel needs to actually replace this microwave,
Yes.
and he needs to do so immediately. Or maybe he could keep it and just add another one beside it, right? The new one would be marked for heating your lunch, and the old one could just have a sign that says urine. Now, as disgusting as all
You're
this
in the money.
As disgusting as
You're in
all
the
this
money.
is, I have to admit that I've actually found it strangely inspiring.
Hey, is that your thing in the microwave? No, that's not mine. That's urine.
You know, people get mad at the office when you reheat some fish in the microwave.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine what that smells
Yeah,
like?
it's like tuna fish. Oh, no.
Yeah,
Even
imagine
worse.
what happens when you're in. Come
Well, as
on.
disgusting as all this is, I do admit I found it inspiring. And as regular listeners know, when I am inspired, I often like to express myself with a sonnet, some prose, or perhaps even a poem.
Mas tequila.
This is absolutely the case today. And so completely and totally without your permission, I'd like to share my poetry with you now. Get a little poetry reading music. And it goes a little something like this. While it seems such a strange thing to do, even Florida should find this taboo. For a drug test, you see, people microwave pee. Just be glad they don't warm up their poo. Reporting live from a Jacksonville Quickie Mart, where I'm trying to warm up a slice of pizza, but the microwave smells like R. Kelly sheets. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news. Why is R. Kelly jokes still so funny? Drinking news. Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. And by the way, props to I did steal that R. Kelly line. Props to Macklemore, the rapper from because he's the one who came up with that. Yeah. Which is
I
great.
want to pop some tags.
Such a great song. Like every now and then a song comes out that just it's like across all genres. You can play that for somebody who likes country, classical, doesn't matter. They're gonna love that song. Yeah. Okay, I'm still sipping on this tequila, but Ian, you poured an Imperial Stout for us a little earlier and played its theme song, Bark at the Moon, on your
one more
ukulele.
time. Yeah,
Can you give us one more? Yeah. How many other shows have you listened to this weekend on your local radio station that provided this kind of musical entertainment? I'm just curious. Probably not many.
I just figured that out like seconds before we
I think it really added to the show.
back to that. This was pretty nice, right?
All right,
Jakey Lee, bad dude.
So this is an Imperial Stout. It comes from Little House Brewing Company. They are in Connecticut, Chester, Connecticut. I don't know a whole lot about them, but I knew when I saw this can, we had to try it on the show because all of us have a great affection for Mr. Osborne.
What kind of dog is that? That's a pug?
I don't know. It looks like a pug that's howling at the moon, maybe. I don't know.
Looks
It's a
like
very
a pug
demented pug
howling
with
at the
fangs.
moon. I love it.
And the moon looks pretty evil, too, if you look at the moon.
Right.
But tell me what you think about this beer.
This beer is pretty darn good. Like the coffee content in both of these beers, the coffee-esque.
Was a high coffee day here.
Yes, ness. And none of them have coffee in them. It just tastes very coffee, like burnt vanilla bean kind of coffee, caramel kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do get the vanilla bean flavor on this a lot, which I really like.
The peanut butter.
Oh, there is some peanut butter for sure.
Peanut butter's pretty big. The chocolate and vanilla is nice. It's actually pretty darn good. It's interesting because it's also got a huge mouthfeel to it.
Yeah, for sure. I really like it.
It's a bitter coffee finish, which is nice because the front end of it is so incredibly sweet. Mm-hmm. I love the artwork on this can, by the way.
With the peanut butter sort of sweetness on the front and then that really dark, almost burnt coffee sort of note on
it's
the
It's a
finish.
very burnt caramel kind of finish,
yep. 100%.
And then coffee, almost that bitter coffee.
Almost like when somebody leaves the coffee pot on too long.
Yes.
But in a more
We call
pleasant way.
it a seasoned coffee pot.
In a more pleasant way. Yeah, it is seasoned. I'm feeling a little seasoned after this and drinking news and the tequila. But we will wrap things up when we come back. You are watching and listening to Smoking and Toasting. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars and drinking news. And we'll be right back.
Oh, hell yeah. It's Kent Westside Bryant on bass there.
No kidding. He's definitely better than the guitar player. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, your program for craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I know, a little bit of you dies every time, right?
Bastard.
I can't decide if I want to be old dirty bastard or arrogant bastard. Both of them have their upsides. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for being here for this part of the program. By the way, this has been a good news kind of a show. I mean, we shared good news about Anchor Brewing being resuscitated, and we shared some other good news with you earlier in the program. And I want to share another piece of good news for you here. All this gloom and doom that the media seems to love to propagate about
water. Is too much of it unhealthy?
Yeah, about the craft beer industry specifically.
Sorry. I was just going with general media.
I got it. I knew where you were going. But craft beer, everybody wants to point out about, the bubble has burst. The fad is over, blah, blah, blah. Well, that may be true. But according to a study released in May, the Global Craft Beer Market Report by Product Type, Age Group, Distribution Channel, and Region from researchandmarket.com, the global craft beer market is set to reach a staggering $293.4 billion mark by 2023.
Millennials are just now learning how to drink.
By 2032, and that is up from 130.4 billion in 2023. So the study says between 2023, which is last year, and 2032, it is going to almost double. More than double, actually.
Millennials are learning how to drink.
I feel like they say that sort of stuff, but like I feel like if I walked into a liquor store in, say, 1955, just the random year that Back to the Future went to, there wouldn't be as much of anything in there. There wouldn't be as many whiskeys. There wouldn't be as many vodkas.
There's no way.
There wouldn't be as many of
There's
anything.
more of everything on the shelves these days.
And if a bubble burst, that just left what was good at the other side of it. So it wasn't necessarily that it was a bad bubble to burst. That just needed to get to where, because if you've been into a Specs or something recently, you can see that there seems to be a lot of craft beer and spirits.
Sure.
So I don't think that's necessarily. I
will
think
point
everything
out-
is relative, and it's relative to the
I
fact
will point
there's
this
more.
out. If you go to the downtown Specs, which is a nice metric because they have, well, if you're looking for it, they probably have it.
Right.
They're just that kind of a big store. They have a section for beer. And that section for beer has remained largely unchanged. However, what happens is the quantities of what they have changes.
Right.
Like the fact that the smallest part of what you can find in the coolers is not necessarily your the smallest part of what you can find in the coolers is you got to go way down to the end to find your macro brews and all that
Right.
stuff, right? And they're going to have the stock of it because you're going to have parties.
But
They have cooler after cooler after cooler of microbrew, and their section hasn't grown that much. The quantities change and things shift around. The section hasn't grown that much. However, when you go to the bourbon aisle or the Scotch aisle, or you see these other markets that have grown, the aisles have actually shifted a little bit. Like the bourbon aisle now, which used to be a section of an aisle, and then it was a full aisle. And then now it's taken over because now the backside of that aisle is
Right.
all rye bourbon, and this one's bourbon, and there's this Texas bourbon. There's a whole section that's just Texas. It's interesting how it all shifts around. But
I've been shopping at the Specs Midtown Houston store for a long time, for years. And I remember even back when I first came back to town, so you're talking about 17, 18 years ago, I would go in there and they would have a good selection of craft beer. But in the coolers, about a third of the total cooler space was macro brew.
Yeah.
It was Bud and Bud Light and Miller and, Coors. And it didn't necessarily have that many different things you could select from, but there would be tons of Bud Light. There would be tons of Miller Lite and so on. Now, when you go into that same store, that stuff is all relegated to maybe about 1/10 or
two
less.
or three doors.
Yeah, 2 or 3 doors at most, and that's all macro brews that are included. Now that's if you count Carbach and some of the other macro brew owned craft beers.
So if you
as
count
craft, but-
you count macro brew American, macro brew Mexican, macro brew craft, they probably have 6 doors.
Right.
And then there's another 12 doors that are all
Right.
microbrew, and that's
And
a
a
beautiful
whole
thing.
bunch of them. And this is all just cooler space. There's tons more available if you don't.
If you go
have
on
to
the
have it
shelves
cool.
right behind you, there's a
absolutely.
whole. As a matter of fact, there's a whole aisle, and I'm not talking about one side of an aisle. I'm talking about both sides of an aisle. That's just Texas craft.
So let me ask you this: where do you come down on Blue Moon? It is a macro brew owned, but it leans more towards a craft style. Do you consider that a craft beer?
No,
Yeah,
it's a macro craft.
Okay, but is it so? Do you put it in the same category then as, say, an Elysian Space Dust or a Carbach Hopadillo, which are owned by a macro company,
Yeah, pretty much.
macro craft, and so that's what you would call Blue
And
Moon.
in general, some of those beers are okay. They're it's not like they taste bad, But in general, I try to avoid buying macro craft if I can.
Same here.
Because I would rather give my money to a micro craft.
That's
Now,
even just like when I'm at the baseball stadium, I'll walk several more sections to get something
St.
from
Arnold.
St. Arnold as
Yes.
opposed to buying carbide.
yeah, and that's just something I try to do. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't drink those other beers.
Right, yeah, and same here.
It
I'll
just
drink
means that if there's a place that I can put my money, especially when I'm paying $14 or $15 for a beer, I definitely want that going to someone that I like.
Great way to wrap up the show. Thank you guys so much for listening to and checking out Smoking and Toasting. We hope you enjoyed checking the show out as much as we enjoyed doing it, and we hope you have a wonderful week. We'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel. My name is Cruz. My co-host is Ian Barry. On the Wheels of Steel is Terry Michaels, and Adam in the Sky is our producer. Have a great week. We'll see you next week, and until we meet again, my friends, cheers, y'all.
Yeah, you never listen to what anybody else says. Such a stuff